Iowa is attempting to create the earliest abortion ban in the country, and Florida has taken steps to recognize porn as a public health crisis. Meanwhile, YouTube's attempt to censor a pro-life video completely backfired on them, and Washington state legislators have gone full-blown crazy. I'm Ryan Everson. This is the Catholic Millennial Show. So, the State House of Representatives in Florida officially recognized porn as a public health crisis. That legislation will now head over to the Senate, and if it passes, Florida will become the 6th state to recognize porn as a public health crisis, joining Tennessee, South Dakota, Virginia, Arkansas, and Utah. You may recall a few weeks ago we mentioned that Kansas did the same thing, so Kansas and Florida are both halfway there to becoming states 6 and 7 on that list, which is great. Also great, Walmart decided to take Cosmopolitan magazine off their checkout stands. Cosmo will now only be found behind blinders in the magazine aisle. Props to Walmart on this. Hopefully some other stores follow their lead, because the stuff you see on the cover of Cosmo is not stuff that should be easily visible in your friendly neighborhood grocery store. Jumping to one of our bigger topics, the president of Live Action, Lila Rose, released a YouTube video with PragerU about Planned Parenthood. Now, I don't endorse all of PragerU's views, but this specific video is Lila Rose talking about abortion, so we're all on the same page. The video released on Monday the 19th, and within hours of going live, YouTube restricted the video before eventually putting it back up after having a bunch of protests. YouTube states that when viewers have restricted mode turned on, potentially mature content will not be shown, and it provides examples of such content, including quote-unquote mature content, drugs and alcohol, sexual situations, violence, profane and mature language, and incendiary and demeaning content, close quote. So while abortion is certainly a very touchy and controversial subject and a mature topic, it must be noted that none of Planned Parenthood's videos are ever on restricted mode. So the topic of abortion itself cannot serve as justification for what YouTube did before undoing it after the protests. Just to clarify, YouTube has every legal right to do this as a private business. You know, they're not forced to take anyone's business. They're not forced to put videos on their website, and they can take down whatever the heck they want. But the fact that they do this to specifically, certain views while, almost, pretty much endorsing other views, just shows that the hypocrisy and that they really aren't about diversity of thought. Ironically, YouTube's brief move to place the video on restricted mode only gave the video more publicity, and it reached over 1 million views in just about 4 days after releasing, so that's pretty awesome. In 5.5 minutes, the concise but informative video talks about how Planned Parenthood tampers with the truth, talks about their taxpayer funding, and it talks about their commonly touted statistic that only 3% of their services are abortion, so they say. If you haven't seen the video yet, please check it out, and if you're not following Lila Rose and Live Action on social media, you should do that too. They're probably the largest pro-life organization in the world next to the Catholic Church itself. So Lila Rose is Catholic herself, so she's always doing great stuff. Jumping over to Iowa, where the heartbeat bill passed by the Senate earlier this week. The heartbeat bill would ban all abortions after the baby's heartbeat can be detected. And if you're not aware when the heartbeat starts, first, you should go to CatholicMillennialBlog.com to download our abortion apologetics cheat sheet. Good stuff. But second, you should know the heartbeat starts very, very early. It's just past a little bit longer than 3 weeks after gestation age. So it's one of the earliest markers on the fetal development timeline. So this bill isn't just a nice little step forward in the right direction. This is a huge, unprecedented leap in the right direction. Mississippi's bill to ban abortions after 15 weeks was going to be the earliest in the nation, but this bill is more than 10 weeks earlier than that. According to Live Action, this bill would effectively ban almost all abortions, and abortionists who violate this legislation would face up to 5 years in prison and a fine. That bill will now head over to the Iowa State House, so we'll be keeping you tuned here on the show in the coming weeks and months as that legislation progresses. All right, now for some depressing news, actually quite a bit of depressing news, in Washington State this week. So Washington pretty much passed every bad bill they could this week. I've literally never seen so much garbage get through one state legislature in 1 week. So here's what happened. First, the Senate passed HB 1523, which requires all insurance coverage to include all forms of contraception. This includes the Plan B pill, otherwise known as the morning after pill, which can kill human life after conception by preventing implantation of the embryo. Secularists and Planned Parenthood call this quote-unquote emergency contraception, but most pro-lifers, certainly Catholics, consider this to be an abortion because it can kill human life after conception has occurred. That bill has been passed by both the House and the Senate, so it will go to the governor's desk to be signed into law very soon. Second thing, SB 6037, which made surrogacy contracts legal. So what are surrogacy contracts, you may be asking? Basically, it allows wealthy people to pay poor women to carry children that they will give up at birth. So women sell their wombs for rent, essentially, and unborn children are purchased away from their biological parents. Several amendments were proposed for this bill, including 1, the requirement that surrogacy be limited to residents of Washington state. Shot down. 2, the requirement that surrogacy be limited to American citizens. Shot down. 3, that someone purchasing a child through surrogacy be married. Shot down. 4, that people with criminal records should not be able to purchase children through surrogacy. Also shot down, in addition to a number of other amendments that were shot down. So, like the contraception bill, this bill has been passed by both the House and the Senate, and that will also go to the governor's desk and also, in all likelihood, be signed into law. So, surrogacy is an unfamiliar and complex topic. So, for more information on that, please check out the Family Policy Institute of Washington on social media or visit their website, which is fpiw.org, fpiw.org. Third bill from Washington state this week, passed by the House, would make it illegal to provide people suffering from gender identity disorder to receive therapy to help them identify with their actual biological gender. Under this bill, the only legal and ethical treatment for such people would be to attempt to reassign their sex. And the bill allows for no exceptions in its current form. If parents want to help their child identify with his or her true gender, they can't. If the parents want this and the child also wants it, they still can't. It's still illegal. They would have to travel out of the state to legally receive such treatment. The bill also disregards the fact that 80 to 95% of children who experience gender dysphoria grow out of it naturally by the time they become adults. So 3 bad bills. But wait, there's more. So the House also passed Bill SB 6219 mandating that every insurance policy in Washington state cover abortions. There was an amendment proposed to grant an exemption for religious institutions. That amendment vote tied 49-49, but an outright majority was needed for the amendment to actually be added to the bill, so a tie is only as good as a loss, so no go. So that bill will not have any exemptions. That bill has been passed by both chambers as well, so that will be signed into law very soon. Alrighty, time for our I'm Watching You segment. So first, there's a case being heard at the Supreme Court later this month to decide whether pro-life pregnancy centers in California will be forced to advertise for abortion centers. The Supreme Court in the state of California ruled in favor of the pro-choice advocates. So NIFLA, the National Institute for Family and Life Activities, is taking that to the U.S. Supreme Court, hearing it later this month, so that's a big deal. Also, in December, if you're not aware, there was a case where Jack Phillips, who is a Christian baker from Colorado, took a case to the Supreme Court because he had a gay couple come into his cake shop and ask him to bake them a custom cake for their wedding. Jack said no. The couple took him to the Colorado Supreme Court. He lost in the Colorado Supreme Court. He then decided to take it to the U.S. Supreme Court. U.S. Supreme Court heard it in December. They'll be issuing a decision on that in the coming months, so we'll be keeping tabs on that as well. Hey there, this is Ryan again. If you've been enjoying the show, and if you've been enjoying all the resources we provide via social media and our website, we'd be super appreciative if you're able to join us on Patreon to help support the cost of everything we do. You can check out our page simply by clicking the link in the title description below. Your donations help us kill more secular filth germs, which is very important. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here next week on the Catholic Millennial Show. God bless. The epic crescendo's coming. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait. Ah, there we go. Woo! That was a little out of tune. I'll do better next time.